Final Fantasy XIV is a massive game with a plethora of different content for the player to try and engage with. But with so many things to do, many of them are going to fall through the cracks. And as a result, there are some pieces of content that people, especially newer players, may miss out on because they don't know it's there or they don't understand how it works. Such is the case with Fox Hollows and Unreal, one of the most rewarding weekly activities you can do. What are Unreals? Well, they're past extremes from the previous expansion scaled up to be current, allowing players to experience the old fights with the benefits of having all their new abilities from the current expansion. And generally speaking, the fights themselves don't really see many changes, if any, allowing for a genuine reliving of these fights. Now, only one Unreal, and by extension one fight, is ever available at any given time, with the one essentially being seasonal, as specific fights are chosen to serve as a patch's Unreal, meaning that they'll remain the same fight until the next patch is released, at which point a new fight will be chosen to take its place and the old one will be retired. Now, the fights themselves are only the first half of this piece of content, as they are directly tied to something known as the Fox Hollows, a tile-based minigame that can only be accessed in Idleshire after completing your weekly Unreal. And the NPC that allows you to play the minigame is the same one that unlocks your ability to actually do Unreals. And lastly, unlike other pieces of content, Unreals, much like Ultimates in the current raid tier, are found in the high-end section of the Duty Finder. So how does it work? Well, as mentioned before, the Unreals themselves are just old fights scaled up, so not really much is going to change on that end. As for the Fox Hollows minigame, it consists of flipping a limited number of tiles to fully unveil different items that provide you points that can be exchanged for different rewards. The items that you can unveil are the 2x3 swords that reward you relatively few points at 15, but also grant you a retailing, which allows you to play the minigame one more time that week if you're able to clear the Unreal again. But keep in mind there's a hard cap of 2 plays per week, which means that if you were to get the swords on your second game, it wouldn't give you another attempt. The next items are the 2x2 box/chest, which only reward points, with the box rewarding 25 while the chest grants 35. However, only one of the two can appear at a time, so if you uncover the box on your board, you're not also going to have a chest, and vice versa. Now, the last item found in the minigame is the fox itself, which takes up only a single tile, making it the hardest to find, but also the most rewarding, as it gives a massive 100 points if found. And why the high point total might make you think that it's only worth going for the fox, there is a catch. Unlike the other two that are guaranteed to appear on every board, the fox only has a chance to, meaning that going for the fox will always be a gamble, as there might not even be one on the board. But with the mechanics of the minigame explained, let's talk about actually doing it. Now, as mentioned before, you're able to play the minigame twice per week, and in both cases, you'll always want to start by finding the swords, as not only are they the easiest to find since they are the biggest, being 2x3, but also by revealing them, you limit the available area, making it easier to find the 2x2, since there will then be fewer areas where the box can actually be. Now, for the first game each week, you'll of course always want to fully uncover the swords to get your retailing so you can play again. But since you're limited to one retailing a week, you don't actually have to fully uncover the swords for the second game, as locating a single piece will still tell you the area that the sword occupies, allowing you to find the box while also having extra guesses for the fox. And it's at this point that I want to talk about the best way of actually solving the minigame, which is going to be by using a community-made Fox Hollow solver that I'll be linking in the description along with the pinned comment. By going to this site, you'll be able to input your board layout, and then the solver will tell you the best tiles to go for, starting with the swords and then the boxes. But the biggest benefit to the solver is the fact that it can even tell you the best locations for finding the fox, as by going to the advanced settings after finding your sword and chest, you can enable the fox sighting box, at which point it will show you the most common locations for the fox in your given layout. But again, keep in mind that you are not guaranteed to have a fox, but if you do, the solver will help you find them. Lastly, let's talk about when and whether or not you should go for the fox. Now, when it comes to your first game, there's really 3 things that you need to consider before going for the Fox. The first thing to consider is how many attempts it's taken you to find your swords and your box, because if it takes you more than a couple to find either or, then you're not going to have enough points to fully unveil what is likely the box, and so you might as well spend your remaining points looking for the Fox. The second thing to consider is while it is riskier, going for the Fox is technically better than going for the box, as long as you get a Fox every few weeks, then you'll actually get more points than you would going for the safe guarantee in the box. And the last thing to consider is that if you find the sword and the box with no wasted guesses, you'll actually have a few left over that you can use to fish for that Fox. As for the retailing, I personally like to forego the guaranteed points of the sword since it doesn't give me another retailing, instead going only for the chest while using the remaining guesses to fish for the Fox. With the what and how answered, let's talk about the why. As mentioned in the previous section, playing the Fox Hollow minigame allows you to accumulate points called leaves. These leaves can be exchanged at the same NPC for a plethora of different prizes like glamours, minions, and even mounts. Furthermore, the bigger rewards are generally high quality, with the Fox having some fan favorite minions and mounts. And his inventory is constantly being added to, as with every new Unreal, they tend to add new items as well. And since they tend to be tradable as well, that means you can sell them on the market, making them a great source of gil, with you easily being able to make 10 million every few weeks just by buying the expensive items then selling them on the market board. But beyond the collecting and selling, the Unreals themselves also tend to serve as a great introduction to harder content, as generally you'll want to start with extremes as it is, and thus doing Unreals is just another way to get into the realm of harder content. And the fact that they're weekly tasks means that you'll likely do the fights several times, allowing you to improve overall as you get more comfortable with the fight, allowing you to focus more on your job so you can improve all around. That being said, some fights are going to be harder than others, which is why you also always want to take advantage when there is an easy Unreal, because by building a stockpile of leaves, you can skip any future Unreals you may not like while still being able to buy the new rewards. And that's basically everything you need to know about Fox Hollows and Unreal. Now, if you found this video helpful, please consider liking it and possibly subscribing to the channel. Furthermore, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them if I am able. Also, consider checking out one of my other guides like this one going over tips for healing. But with that being said, thanks for watching and I wish you the best on your fox hunting adventures.